All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the first non-draft live stream today. I'm just going to run through some players that I think you should be watching this year for your fantasy leagues. Players that you can just toss on your watch list and keep an eye on in case they break out. And most of this is going to be just running through what's been happening in training camp this year. A lot of players are seeing time with on different lines. And I'm just going to run through most of those players today and just give my fantasy outlook for them this season, their relevance, and everything like that. So the first player, I'm just going to jump right into it, is Jack Studnicka of the Boston Bruins. So we all know that Pasternak's out for at least the first month. It's going to be about 12 to 14 games from what I've been reading. So we can see here on the Bruins, Jack Studnicka actually moves up to the first line. And if you followed hockey at all in the last couple of years, you definitely know that the Marchand-Bergeron duo has been lights out. And then they added David Pastrnak a few years ago. And, I mean, the line hasn't really looked back. They've been one of the most dominant lines in hockey. They run the top power play unit as well. So we're just seeing Studnicka move up to the first line. It's definitely going to be temporary. We don't know if, Andre Cauchet is making a case to move up to the top line of Craig Smith. But from what we can understand, Boston doesn't really like to change their lines too often. So keeping Cauchet on the second line and Craig Smith on the third line, it makes sense because this is where they're going to play majority of the year. So Studnicka definitely has a lot of value early in the season, especially for the time that Pasternak's out. We won't see him on the top power play unit. There is a chance he can make a case for the second unit. I'm not sure if we'll see Nick Ritchie there. I'm not sure if he's ever even played on the power play. But for right now, Studnicka has tons of value. He should be seeing at least, 15 plus minutes per night. I know a lot of the minutes for the Bergeron Marchand line do come from special teams. I think Marchand and Bergeron are both on the penalty kill, and they do run that top power play unit. So I have Studnicka's stats up here. You can see he was solid in Providence last season. He was good in the OHL. He was a second round pick in 2017. So even if you go look into Providence's stats last season, you can see Studnicka ran that team. He was the best player. And if you go look at the ages as well, there's a Lauzon over Grzelcyk. No, not at all. I think the biggest thing for Grzelcyk this season is that he sees time on the top power play unit. And I think Boston was second in the league last year, 57 goals on the power play. So I think it's kind of hard going to Lauzon. I know he's seen top minutes with McAvoy, but I mean, they're also going to be playing against the top lines on opposing teams. So I haven't actually looked too much into Lauzon. You might be one of the first people I've seen that's inquired about him. But I think it's hard to not go Grzelcyk this year. He's going to play, more minutes this year. He's going to see time on the top power play unit. So it's kind of hard to shy away from him. But if you just joined the stream, I was just running over Jack Studnicka this year. I think he has some good fantasy value in the first at least couple weeks of the season until Pastrnak comes back. I mean, it's hard to shy away from him on a top line like Bergeron and Marchand. Okay, so the second player I'm going to look at is Nino Niederreiter of the Carolina Hurricanes. So to my surprise, they actually moved Svechnikov down to the second line. I know near the end of the season last year, he was on the top line with Aho and Teravainen. So it looks like Carolina is putting Nino on the top line. I think he scored a couple 20-goal seasons. We can look into his stats here quickly. But yeah, he had a 57-point season with Minnesota, a couple 20-goal seasons. So he definitely has some value this year, especially if he's playing on the top line with Aho and Teravainen. I don't think he'll be getting power play 1 minutes, but even their power play 2 is pretty good. So I think Nino's someone you're going to have to add to your watch list and just keep an eye on. I'm not sure if they're going to move Svechnikov up. It's definitely a possibility because they were good last year, but I mean, we see in training camp this year too, a lot of players are getting moved around. So in terms of another player for your watch list, I would say Martin Necas is another player you should watch. He's solid. I think he went top 5 overall. He's playing on the third line now, but I'm not sure how long we're going to see Jesper Fast on the second line. So keep an eye on Necas. He has a ton of upside this year. He could be a breakout candidate. I'm not sure. But definitely keep an eye on him for majority of the season. I think he's pretty solid. The upside's there. He shouldn't be owned in many leagues. I don't think Nino Niederreiter's getting drafted very often as well. I'm not entirely sure of his ownership right now, but I think Nino's also a solid play. For defense here, I have got a lot of questions about Slavin. I know he was in my must-own defense video, but a lot of people have been asking me, like, Slavin over Theodore, Slavin over Pulak. Like, I know he was a must-own defenseman, but it's not that his value is top 10 defense value. So Slavin's good because he blocks. He plays a lot of minutes. When Dougie went down, he saw time on the top power play unit, so they do give him a pretty big role in the team. And then the best stat for Slavin is his plus-minus. So if you're in a league that takes into account plus-minus, I know for the Yahoo standard scoring, there is plus-minus there. Slavin's going to provide you with that. He's one of the top defensive defensemen in the league. So he's definitely someone you can draft, but don't try and take him too early. Like, I think after the 10th round is when you can look for Slavin. So yeah, I have had some people inquire about Vincent Trocheck this year. So if we look into Trocheck's stats, you can see he had a 75-point season with Florida. I think he was a second line as well. Can't confirm that, so don't quote me on it. But he's only 27 years old. He only played 7 games with Carolina last season. You can see his stats have been, he's relatively solid for the majority of his career. So I think Trocheck's a solid bounce back candidate for this year. I'm going to make a video on bounce back candidates either tomorrow or for Monday. But Trocheck's another guy you should keep an eye on this year. What's up, Ryan? All right, so the next player we're going to look at is Dylan Strome. Again, if you've been following the hockey news, I mean, Chicago's going to be a crapshoot this year. You can see their centers, Walmart, Pius Suter, David Kampf. Like, they have no depth. They're going to be tough this year. But I mean, Dylan Strome's going to see time on the first line with Kane and DeBrincat. His first season in Chicago, I think he had 51 points in 54 games. 51 and 58. And that was on the line with DeBrincat and Kane. I mean, anyone that's on Kane's line is going to get value. So Strome sees first line minutes, should see first line power play minutes as well. From what I've seen in my drafts, he's gone relatively unowned, or he's being taken really late in the draft. So he's an easy pickup, someone you can easily add on your watch list. He'll provide you with points, power play points. They just signed him, I think 2-year deal. So, I mean, he doesn't have too much to prove, but I still think, he's a 3rd overall pick, and that just gives him enough upside for you to be happy about taking him. And then, I mean, he doesn't really want to be known as a bust. He's still early in his career. He's only 23 years old. So I think Strome is someone you can have on your watch list or someone you could add on your team. I'm not sure, how deep your leagues are, but Strome is someone you can definitely be looking at this year. Adam Boqvist is another player that's pretty interesting. I'm not sure how Chicago is going to use them. I'm not sure how Chicago is going to even be this year. But Boqvist I think he was a rookie last season. Let me grab his player profile. Yep, rookie last season. He went 8th overall. He was solid in the OHL. So he's someone you can watch this season. I'm not sure if he'll move up and play on the top power play unit. I think that would be the biggest factor to why you would pick him up. But he should see time on the second power play unit. But, I mean, Chicago's going to be terrible this year. If you saw my bust video, I talked about how Kubalik is going to be a bust this year. It's kind of unfortunate for him because, he had a breakout season last year playing with Taze and Saad. And now with the Taze injury, Saad's off the team. Kind of just, ruins all the confidence for him this year. But who knows, maybe he can step up and be show why he's a top 6 forward. All right, so we'll move over to Colorado. So I'm sure all of you know Colorado is going to be sick this year. I mean, look at this depth. There's so many good players. So I think the player you're going to want to look out for in Colorado is Burakovsky. He's playing the top line with McKinnon and Rantanen. McKinnon's one of the best players in the NHL this year. He's actually our rank 1 player. Rantanen's a crazy playmaker. Burakovsky does have goal upside. Big time, e.g. If you've actually seen my videos, I've been all over Bjorkstrand and Fiala. It's crazy. Like, Columbus signed Bjorkstrand, I think 5 years, 27 million, and not many people know that that's actually a really good signing for Columbus. So, you took Rantanen in the second round. Who did you take in the first round, Ryan? I really want to emphasize that, like, if you can get McKinnon in the first round and Rantanen in the second round, like, you have a really good chance at winning your league this year. Those are two really, really key players. But if you can get them on your team, like, and you have a decent, like, draft in the later rounds. Oh, you took Panarin? What pick? But yeah, I think Burakovsky is going to be solid this season. He should see tons of minutes. I think, sorry, I don't know how to spell his name off by. Oh, you got Panarin 7? Yeah, that's solid value. You're probably going to do pretty good this year. But I mean, a lot of it does depend on those sleepers you take later in the drafts. But you saw last year, Burakovsky, 20 goals in 58 games. That's about a 25 to 28 goal pace. In a full season, so we should see something like that again this year for Burakovsky. Thanks, EG. I'm happy. How did your draft end up going? Who did you take? What pick did you have, and who did you take? Is what I'll ask. But yeah, I think Burakovsky is getting taken in the mid-round portions of drafts. Some leagues he might go unowned. It all depends on your leagues, but he's someone you can watch out for. I think he's a strong candidate to have another really good season this year. And then we'll jump over to the Dallas Stars. You know what, Fortnite, just for your sake, I'll show you guys Columbus. This is my boy right here. Look at that, number 10 right winger. People are sleeping on him this year. I'm telling you, Bjorkstrand's going to be sick. Oh, this power play unit's a disaster. Yeah, this is just a disaster all over the place. This is completely wrong. Like, they don't even have Dubois anywhere. But Bjorkstrand's definitely a big sleeper this year. High shot volume, high goal upside, plays on the top line. We can definitely expect big things out of him this year. Anyways, so let's hop over to Dallas. So the two big sleepers on Dallas this year that you're going to want to look out for is Hintz and Gurionov. Bjorkstrand over Konechny, that's close. I think the biggest thing, Ryan, you're going to look out for to compare the both is just the minutes they play. So I'm going to run through Philadelphia like a little bit later in this stream, but Philly's really deep this year, so I'm not sure how many minutes Konechny's actually going to play. And Bjorkstrand's he's guaranteed at least 17 minutes a night. I'm not sure about Konechny. But keep an eye on the minutes. See how they're doing. I think minutes is a really important thing that people don't factor in fantasy leagues, especially for defensemen. I think for defensemen, you need to be drafting players with over 20 minutes time on ice a night. And that's something that's really important because the more minutes, minutes have a correlation to your production. The more minutes you play, the more likely you are to be on for a goal or to, take a shot on net and block. So yo, man, my fantasy draft is in 2.5 hours tonight. I'm picking first and taking McDavid. Interesting. But after that, who should I go for late rounds? My league is big points and goalie wins. Chad, you came to the right place, actually. Like, I'm kind of running through this right now. So if you want to write down some players, I'm just going through the Dallas Stars right now. You can tune in for most of the stream, Chad. I'm actually, running through late round picks for you. And I'll make sure I hit as many as I can. So I think Rupe, Hintz, and Gurionov are solid picks this year. They were great in playoffs last season. They saw a lot of minutes on the first line. I think the biggest issue with Dallas is they do shuffle their lines a lot, and they do roll the lines. We saw last year their third line was playing about 16 minutes a night, which is pretty high for third lines. I'm not sure about the power play minutes for Hintz and Gurionov. It's going to be kind of a question mark this year. But we do know that Tyler Seguin's injured. So, they'll have tons of opportunity to put up points. Gurionov played 13 minutes a night last season and still scored 20 goals. So, I know a lot of people have talked about how Gurionov is potentially faster player than McDavid, but we'll see. I picked first in 10-man league. I picked McDavid. Yeah, I think McDavid does have the highest point ceiling, but if your league incorporates shots, it's kind of hard to shy away from McKinnon. Like I actually have our rankings here for our scoring, and we actually have McKinnon ranked as the top player. So a little bit more than McDavid, but I think you can't really go wrong. So, Chad, is Pavelski worth looking at? Yeah, Pavelski's a solid pick. Like he'll give you 20 goals this season. I wouldn't try and focus too much on him. Like if you see he's available in the 8th round and you're interested, try and look at other options that are available there. I wouldn't try and reach too much for Pavelski, but he's definitely a solid pick. Yeah, if you stash Seguin, I stashed Seguin in my $50 keeper league. I figured like A he could be a keeper into next year, and B he could win your league in playoffs in the last month of the season when he comes back. So I don't think there's anything bad with taking Seguin. All right, so I'm going to hop over to Florida. So this is probably the biggest thing I want to emphasize this year for you guys. If Anthony Duclair is available in your league, pick him up. You might as well. So he's playing first line with Barkov and Huberdeau. If you followed hockey in the last couple of years, you know the success players have had playing with Barkov and Huberdeau. So Evgeny Dadonov is the example I'm going to use, who came over from the KHL. And don't get me wrong, he was good in the KHL, but we have seen a trend with players like Nikita Gusev last year who was dominating the KHL and just wasn't really good in the NHL. So Dadonov came in and he was a stud playing with Barkov and Huberdeau. So I think we'll see this year if Dadonov is an average NHL player, or if he's the 70, 65 point season we've seen from him. But I think Anthony Duclair should be owned in all your leagues. And if he's not owned, pick him up. This is definitely a breakout candidate year for him. If you've seen my breakout candidate or must-own late gems, Duclair's in there. So keep your eye out for him. If you don't have room in your league, add him to your watch list and just make sure that he is playing these top minutes, because that's what's going to determine his value the most. I'm not sure if he's going to play on the top power play unit. They have him there. If he does, it only justifies why you should have him on your team. So keep an eye out for Duclair this season. He's going to be a stud. He's an extremely fast winger that's playing with Barkov, who's not necessarily a playmaker, but he's a pass-first guy. And then Huberdeau, who just does it all. So if Duclair's available, like I said, pick him up. Chad, I know you're asking in chat for late-round players to take. I think Duclair's ranked 181 on ESPN. I'm not sure if you're drafting on ESPN or Yahoo, but he's 181 on ESPN, I think in the 150 mark for Yahoo. So he's someone you could easily take in the 10th round and beyond and get potentially crazy value out of him this year. Mikko Lehtinen. I mean, Lettinen's solid, but he hasn't proven anything this year. And Toronto kind of is a crapshoot on their D as well. I'll go over to Toronto right now, just to answer your question. Yeah, Ryan, you got a solid team, man. I love to hear how you're doing during the season. Keep me updated. Okay, so to answer your question, Michael, Lehtinen is slated to play on the third pairing, but Toronto still has Travis Dermott and Rasmus Sandin that's fighting for a spot in the team. And those players, like Sandin was a first-round pick. So do they want to keep him in the minors? Who knows? And Dermott has been playing the NHL the last 2-3 seasons. So it's kind of hard to say that Lehtinen does have value this year because he hasn't played in the NHL. But I think the bright spot for Lehtinen, I got to confirm that I do want to see if there is a correlation of players that are playing this year. So you can see that Lettinen's already played 17 games this season. So I'm very curious to see if there's a correlation between players that have already played this year and their success this season. And I'll run through a few players on this list, but I think the biggest thing for Lehtinen is that he has played this year. So, I mean, some players have been doing nothing during the COVID break, They're probably training, but in terms of on ice, Lettonen's already been in games. He's already been competing, so that's something to look forward to. Have you done the Flames yet? No, I can go to the Flames. Absolutely. Sure. Yeah, Michael, if you have any questions, like, I mean, about players who you drafted or anything fantasy, feel free to ask. I'm here to answer. I'm here to talk to you guys about this stuff. I want to help you guys do as best as you can in your leagues this year. You want to take Marty? Who's Marty? Marty Turco? Hoping to snag Marty late round as a third goalie. Like Markstrom? I think Markstrom's not even a third string goalie in fantasy. I think Markstrom's a first, or not a first, but a solid second string. Chuck is my big target in Flames. Oh, Marky, I got you. I think a big sleeper this year, and I wish they kept that second line together of Backlund, Mangiapane, and Tkachuk. But I think Backlund's a solid late round pick if you're looking for somebody. But yeah, Matt Tkachuk's going to be great this season. Tkachuk's going to be solid. I think Calgary's going to be a lot better this year. I think, you know what? I'm happy you actually told me to go here because this is a player I forgot about. So another player you guys should be looking at is Rasmus Andersson on Calgary. If you've seen my bus video, I kind of ran through how I think Giordano's getting old now, and his effectiveness on both 5-on-5 and the power play is starting to diminish a little bit. So I think taking Rasmus Andersson as a flyer late in the draft is solid because we could see him playing on the first power play unit. And same thing with Hannafin. But if we see Andersson's minutes increase and he plays on the top unit, he could be great value late in the draft. And there's tons of D that I think D are a little thin this year too. So it does provide you with some support on your bench. See if I missed anything here. Oh, EG10. I think for Chicago, Dylan Strome is who you want to watch. I ran through it a little bit. Yeah, I do. I think Anderson has... Well, that's the thing, Nick. It's the same thing that happened when I explained it to Michael, is that Valimaki just hasn't really proved much yet. So the thing is that Anderson has already played on the power play unit before. He's played on the top unit. He has a couple of years in the league. So I think before they give Valimaki that top power play unit chance, that I think Anderson will be the one that's manning it to start the season at least. So, all right. So let's move on all the way down to the Rangers. Is there any other teams you guys want me to cover here? I guess I'll go to Minnesota because I saw people talking about my boy, Kevin Fiala. I think if you're not on Fiala this year, you're not doing it right. He was a stud. The second half of last season, he was one of the best players in the league. And if you haven't watched his highlight tapes, go watch his highlight tapes because he was filthy last season. Oh, he did replace Simon on the second line? I'll go back to Calgary. If Mangiapane did replace Simon, like, that's good value. Like, look, the line, Gaudreau, Monahan, Mangiapane. I think I'm pronouncing it right, so don't give me shit about it. But if you guys have never looked into it, look at his OHL stats. Like, he lit up the OHL. And I'm not saying the OHL is an elite league. Like, if you're putting up stats like this in the NCAA, it's completely different. But he was over point per game in the AHL. I mean, they couldn't really keep him down there any longer because he was just lighting it up. So, yeah, that's definitely, Nick, that's definitely someone you want to watch this year too. Like, a lot of people aren't on him at all, and he has tons of upside. I'm not sure if anyone's too familiar with advanced stats, but it's something I really like to use. And I can show you how good that line was last year. So Mangiapane, Backlund, Tkachuk, they had a 3.26 expected goals for. So you can even see the comparison with other lines like Gaudreau, Monahan, Lindholm. So their line together was really, really good. All right. Got a couple questions here. I think Braden Point's solid. EG. You can't really go wrong with him. He's a stud. He had 92 points 2 years ago. I know Kucherov's out, and that does affect his value a little bit, but he's primarily a playmaker, and he's playing with Steven Stamkos, so he's solid this year. Oh, Grenier, that's a solid question. I would say probably Anderson at this point. It's a toss-up between Anderson and Hronek, because Hronek plays a ton of minutes already. He's guaranteed to play a ton of minutes. But I think Anderson's the safer play. They're going to be a better team, Calgary as a whole, and he should see top-line minutes and potentially top power play minutes. Yegmeet, did you just join the stream? I was talking about Duclair probably 5 to 10 minutes ago. He's solid play this year. I was saying if you don't have him right now, pick him up. Things will be solid this year. What do you think about Laugh? Yeah, that was actually the next player I was going to, was the Rangers. Talking about this Kako Lafreniere situation. In a points league, no, I think Yandel's still an own. I think Yandel's still fine to have on your team. He's still going to put up points. He doesn't really do anything other than get assists on the power play. Like, you can't really rely on him for blocks or shots, but he's a solid play for, just putting up points and power play points for you. So Chad, I'll go to you now. We'll drop over to the New York Rangers. So I don't know how it's going to play out this year with them. I can't see them keeping Lafreniere on the third line. But as of now, Kako is kind of a must-own if he's playing with Breadman and Strome this year. But it's definitely something that you need to be monitoring. And I'm going to be posting videos like every Sunday running through who you should be streaming, any potential major changes to lines. So if we do see Lafreniere move up to the second line, like, I'm going to be posting it all over the place. If you guys aren't already members on the website, hop on over there, sign up. We're going to be posting any major changes this season, keeping you guys all updated as much as we can. But I think Kako, as long as he plays on the second line, he has value. I don't think he'll be on the top power play unit, but he's going to be really good this year. Oh, Ekblad's PP1? Really? That's what they're going to do this year. That's weird. Yeah, if Yandel's not in the first power play unit, I wouldn't even bother watching. I wouldn't draft him. I would just keep an eye on to see if they keep Ekblad in the top unit. Your draft's at 11 tonight. Do you know what pick you have? We can kind of dissect to see, the best potential picks for you. Kind of pairing your first pick with the second pick. Yeah. I'll run through Vancouver for you. I have a player on Vancouver we're looking at. Okay, cool. Peg, is there anyone else that's available on the free agency? Like, I can probably find some players that you can pick up with value. Like Matt Grzelcyk. I'm not sure if you guys have heard me talk about Matt Grzelcyk yet. Power play 1 on Boston. I'm not sure if you guys joined the stream recently, but I talked about how Jack Studnicka is a sleeper late in the draft, playing on the first line with Bergeron and Marchand. And then Matt Grzelcyk. Top power play minutes. They had 57 goals last year, ranked second in the league. Even with Pasternak out, they're still going to be super good. So keep an eye out for Grzelcyk. He's someone that is falling late in drafts. Yeah, I would say Anderson. You're fine with Anderson there, Grenier. You know what, Chad? I don't think that's the worst play, going Miller and Pettersson, because you have that correlation. You know they're going to play together. You know they're good together. You can probably even snag Hughes in the round after, which would be, complete correlation between the two power play forwards and the first line forwards, and then Hughes. So, all right, let's move on to, where am I at? Ottawa. Oh, Pacioretty. I'm going to run through Vegas as well. So we'll talk about that. All right, so in Ottawa, the no surprise Tim Stützle, or Stutzla, just give me the benefit of the doubt here, guys. So he's a stud, third overall pick, should have won second. He was super good in World Juniors for Germany. He's a player that kind of plays like Jack Eichel, I find. I find that he wants to control the play. He always wants the puck. He's going to be great for them this year. He should see a decent amount of minutes. I think from his showing in World Juniors, he's ready to make an impact in the league. So keep an eye out for him. He's definitely someone you can draft and not be too worried about. I think he's low risk, high reward. Should definitely be playing. He will be on the power play. I can assure you of that. If you guys have watched my other videos, I've talked about Brady Tkachuk and how good he's going to be this year. He is definitely a breakout candidate. He has one of the best advanced stats in hockey. He's always putting up scoring chances every game. He battles in front of the net. He tips shots. So Brady's someone you're going to want to watch this year, especially for a breakout candidate. If you're in a league with hits and shots, he kind of does what no one else has been able to do, and he puts up a ton of shots and a ton of hits each year. So keep an eye out on Brady. He's someone you should probably try and target in your drafts or to trade for. I think he's an easy breakout candidate. I think Ottawa's going to be a bit better this year. They have some of their young guys like Norris, Batherson, Stützle, Brandstrom. They're all going to be solid this year. So keep an eye out on Brady. Keep an eye out on Stützle. I don't know if I can agree with you on that. I don't know how Matt Murray's going to be. He was shaky in Pittsburgh, but I mean, change of scenery benefits everybody. It's a curse and a blessing sometimes. So hopefully for Murray, it's a blessing. Oh yeah, Olofsson's sick this year. I actually took Olofsson in my league last year in like the 18th round, and he ended up being like a really, really key player. So let's move on to Philly. This is something I really want to talk about. So I don't want to talk too much about sport betting and getting people into sport betting, but if you're someone that does enjoy tossing a few dollars down, I would probably bet on Philadelphia to win the cup this year at 17-1. So look at how deep this team is. Like, just take this in. All four of their lines are solid lines. So please no one document this, but even though I'm streaming, one of my best friends from home is really close with Morgan Frost of the Philadelphia Flyers, and he mentioned that Nolan Patrick has been practicing and he's healthy, and that he has been lights out for them right now. So he's someone that's been completely forgotten about. Second overall pick. He had migraines last season, so he didn't play. But from what I'm told, he's going to be sick this year. So keep an eye out for Patrick. He has a ton of value. I think he's probably available on the free agency in some of your leagues. He's being undrafted. He's playing with JVR and Voracek, who are solid scoring players. So I think Patrick has a ton of value. A lot of people are sleeping on him. Yeah, Ryan, I saw you mention that today. I think you're just keep Couturier. Dubois is solid too, but I think Couturier is better. And yeah, Chad, Hart's phenomenal. Like, he's going to be one of the best goalies this year. It's just, I'm just amazed by how deep Philly got. Like, they're filthy this year. So I don't think Bobrovsky's going to be good. I think Florida's a bad team. They're bad defensively. Like, they have the first line, I get it, but they're going to get hemmed in their own end a lot when that first line's not on the ice. I don't think Bobrovsky's going to be good at all. I think they need to give an opportunity to Spencer Knight. If you guys have watched World Junior Hockey, you can see how good Spencer Knight was. They're going to need to give him an opportunity eventually, so I don't think Bobrovsky has much worth. Yeah, I think Nolan Patrick. Are you a Flyers fan, Fortnite? Yeah, Bling, that's crazy. That could be game-changing for your team. If let's say Patrick puts up 40 points this season, 10 power play points, you took him last round. Like, players that are going in the last round, you kind of forget about. So, who do I take for goalies? I think Thatcher Demko is someone that's kind of, I think his ADP is really low. I'm not a fan of Holtby. I'll run through the Canucks in a little bit, but I think for goalies, look at Hart, Markstrom. Uh, you know, we can go through teams like Leonard, solid. I think Grubauer is another goalie that's kind of going overlooked. Colorado's going to win a ton of games this year. But yeah, Demko's probably a goalie I would say that's outside of the obvious. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Nashville this year. I don't know. I think Nashville's going to be they need to bounce back this season. They need to figure it out. But their D are solid, so I guess that makes Saros a bit better. But if you guys watch World Juniors too, like Askarov was he was pretty shaky, so they might need to rely on Saros a little bit more than they think. If you guys already haven't dropped a like, please make sure to drop a like on the stream if you're enjoying the content right now. It helps me and motivates me to put out more content for you guys, so feel free to leave a like at any point. All right, so let's hop over to the next team. All right, so this is one that I promise you guys you haven't seen yet. You haven't read anywhere. So John Leonard. Who is John Leonard? You're wondering? All right, so of course there's 500 Leonards here. Where is he? John, come on. All right, John Leonard. So John Leonard played at UMass. He was point per game the last 2 years. Scored 27 goals in NCAA last year. You can see with UMass he played with Cale Makar. He was sick. So he's been one of the best players on UMass. So I was just doing some reading. He's currently projected to play on the second line with Hurdle and Kane, who are two solid players, like players that will definitely have an impact, players that are being drafted. I was reading that Leonard has been lighting it up in the training camp right now with that line. He was great in NCAA. We've seen a ton of players come out of there with a lot of success. A good example is Johnny Gaudreau, who was drafted in the 4th round by Calgary, won the Hobey Baker Award, and lit it up with Calgary. So someone that you should look to watch for is John Leonard. Keep your eye out. I don't know how many minutes he's going to play. I don't know if he's going to be on the power play unit. But if we assume he's going to stay with this line for at least a little bit in the season, he could be pretty good this year. So I had a tough time finding his highlights on YouTube. I could barely find any. But from what I saw, he has really good hands and he's a really good shot. So if you're playing on a line with Hurdle and Kane, I think John Leonard's a pretty big sleeper. And if you guys can tell me if you've read about him, I would love to know where and how. But he's someone we've recently looked into, and he looks to be like a solid pick this year. So I don't know if right now I would pick him up. I think you can wait a little bit on him, but keep him on your watch list. Pay attention to the San Jose games. I think Leonard could be a great pick this year. I don't know, but he should be good this year. Okay, let's go to the next one. St. Louis. All right, so the player on St. Louis that I think you should look out for is Robert Thomas. So let me just go over to his stats here. 2 years in the NHL. He had a great season last year, 42 points in 66 games. He was playing on the third line. He was shuffling between the third and fourth line. So right now they have him slotted to play with Mike Hoffman and Schwartz. Schwartz is an elite goal scorer. Hoffman's an elite goal scorer. Schwartz has been solid the last 2 years with St. Louis. So if Robert Thomas is centering them, he could have his final breakout season, the breakout season we've been waiting for. Partial breakout season last year, I would say, but ton of upside, drafted in the first round. I think you could easily take Thomas late in your draft and sit him on your bench and just see how he pans out. If you don't like him the first 2 weeks, you can find someone else. I'm not sure about power play minutes. They have him PP2, but even with PP2 time, he should be fine. Their power play is solid. I think they ranked 3rd in the league last year, or maybe 4th for power play goals. So Robert Thomas, someone you can watch, someone you can take late in your draft and, again, sit on your bench and hope he breaks out finally. But that's what I'm seeing right now for the Blues. there's not too much other than him to look at. So we'll move on. All right, so Vancouver. Yeah, Cahoon's fine. I really want Nugent Hopkins to move back to that line with Draisaitl. And I can show you here. So in 25 games last year, they had the best expected goals for on Edmonton. So if Nugent Hopkins moves back to that line with them with the Yamamoto and Draisaitl, they're going to be sick this year. But for Cahoon, I think Cahoon I would keep on your watch list. And it's kind of the same thing as picking up Zach Kassian. Like, are you going to have Zach Kassian for your bench because he's playing with McDavid? Probably not. I'm not too sure about how Cahoon's going to be this year. So I think it's someone you should keep on your watch list and keep in mind. But I don't know if Cahoon is someone you should have on your team. Yep, Create. I ran through Burakovsky already in the stream. He's going to be good this year in the first line. I hope he stays on that first line, but I think the biggest concern with Burakovsky last season is that I know when Colorado would go down in games, the few games that they did go down, Burakovsky would move to the second line and they would move Landeskog back up. But I think Burakovsky has crazy good value this year. He can break out for 20, 25 goals in the shortened season. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on him. All right, so the Canucks. I saw Jagmeet was inquiring about them. So yeah, Besser 100% has value this year, especially if he's playing on that line with Pettersson and Miller. He's getting drafted in like the 10th round. I think he should be drafted earlier. Pettersson's like a Datsuk of our modern era, or I guess of the 2020s. He's going to be a stud for the next 10 plus years, Pettersson. So he fits perfect with Besser. Pettersson's a pretty elite playmaker. Besser sees power play time. They really like to utilize his shot in the power play, and that just gives him even more value. If they're feeding him the puck, he's going to be shooting more opportunity to score. He's definitely going to have power play points. So the big thing I want to talk about is Nils Höglander, if I pronounce that right. So right now I was reading he's playing second line with Horvat and Pearson. Horvat and Pearson were actually pretty good the last 2 years, and they were playing with Louis Eriksson, who has been a well below average player in the league. Someone that's like Zach Kassian, where he doesn't really provide too much value to your line. So let me look up Nils for you. And one thing I touched on earlier in the stream is that I'm very curious to see the correlation between players that have already played this year and their success. So Nils has already been playing this year in the Swedish league, 14 points in 23 games. If you go look here, you can see that players are relatively old in this league. So he's already getting experience playing with players that are, I guess, to say men in the league. Like coming into the NHL, you're playing against guys in like their 30s and 40s. So he's already playing with older players that have tons of experience. So that only benefits him. He was really good in the World Juniors, 11 points in 7 games. I did see some clips with Vancouver. He was making some pretty sweet passes to Horvat, pretty sweet passes to Pearson. So he's someone you can look out for. Assuming he plays about 15 plus minutes per night, he should see power play 2 time. They don't have him here, but none of the power play lines are set in stone. So he's definitely someone you can take later in your draft. I think if you're taking Horvat in your draft, it doesn't hurt to take Höglander late just to have that correlation between the two. But someone to add to your watch list and keep an eye out for. Yeah, we could definitely see Besser move to the second line and then move Virtanen up would be my guess. And I can show you Vancouver here. From what I know, when Virtanen was playing... Oh, it could be... Yeah, there we go. Pettersson, Miller, Virtanen was actually one of their top lines last season when they were together. The sample size is small, but it's definitely... Another thing you can watch out for is Virtanen if he moves up. But again, if you're already not a member of the website, go sign up. We'll provide updates almost daily on there about any line movements or anything. So keep an eye out for that. All right, so the next team is Vegas. I saw someone inquire about Vegas too. I think it was you again, Jag, about... No, Ryan, we recently launched our website. It's still a little bit in construction, but it's in the link in the description, sportuniverse.net. We have our projections up there. We have some articles. We're still working on it. This is all of our first times working on a website, but we're trying to make it work. We have a fantasy hockey board as well where you guys can feel free to ask your questions on there, and we'll do our best to answer them. If you want to drop the team you drafted on the discussion board, we'd love to analyze your team and kind of help you make some decisions. So yeah, this is the biggest thing for Vegas this year, Chandler Stevenson. So the first and most important thing I want to touch on is something that I value a lot. I'm going to be showing you guys this a lot, is the expected goals for. So look at this line. So Pacioretty, Stevenson, Stone. I'll show you for the entire league, actually. Number 1. So when Stevenson was playing with Stone and Pacioretty, they were the number 1 expected goals for line in hockey. So I don't know if Stevenson's going to stay with them. I saw a lot of people talking about Cody Glass moving up. Glass hasn't really proved anything this season or last season. Stevenson was phenomenal with Stone and Pacioretty. He saw his minutes increase a fair amount. The expected goals were absolutely crazy for them. He's definitely not getting picked up in any league. So he's someone you can look at drafting 100%. I'm going to talk about him in my video tomorrow, absolutely. But this line's great. Stone's a phenomenal player, great defensively. He makes some amazing passes. He can score. Pacioretty's primarily a shooter. He's there to score. So keep an eye out for Stevenson this season. I think he's someone that he won't break out. Like, I don't think he'll have a point per game season or anything like that, but he's someone you can take for a couple months and he'll just provide you with consistent production, especially on this line. I think the biggest thing to watch out for with Stevenson is his minutes. So just keep an eye on if he's playing over 15 per night. That'll ensure that he's playing on the top line still and potentially getting some power play minutes. I'm not sure if they have him on the power play at all here. No, nothing right now, but I'm not even sure if Theodore will be on the top power play. But yeah, Stevenson's phenomenal pick this year. You'll get him late in your draft. And if you guys were in here for the Philadelphia Flyers run through, might be them. So Philly, Colorado, and Vegas might be the 3 deepest teams in the league. Like, I think Alex Tuch is easily a top 6 forward. Their second line is great. But yeah, Stevenson's the big one. First line could see power play minutes. You see the numbers here. Like, the sample size is large enough for me to be, like, if I sort it by 200 minutes, they're still at the top. So definitely keep an eye out for that. So yeah, that's everything. I've ran through every team I wanted to cover. I'm gonna hop over to the Oilers quickly and just shine some light on this situation, because I did see someone mention Dominic Cahoon. So yeah, I get Cahoon's playing with Draisaitl and Yamamoto. If you followed the Oilers last season at all, they shuffle like crazy. If they're losing, Draisaitl just moves up with McDavid. You'll see Ennis move up, Puljujärvi move up. Like, it's crazy. So for Cahoon, it's just, I know he's slotted in the second line, and I get it. He's playing with Draisaitl, playing with Yamamoto. I just don't know if he's going to be there. You can see him start the first period on that line and then play 10 minutes the rest of the game. So he's just too big of a question mark for me to have him on your bench. I think there's better options available. I want to talk about Tyson Barrie. Everyone knows he's a sleeper this year. Everyone's on him. My biggest advice is don't reach too far for him. I get that he's going to be on the top power play unit, but we saw Ethan Bear there last year, and he was really good for them. He took a huge stride last season, Ethan Bear. So I think they're going to give Barrie opportunity in the first month. If it doesn't pan out, you could see Bear take a spot easy. Yeah, Bear is definitely a sleeper. Bear plays a ton of minutes too. We'll look into him. Actually, it doesn't show minutes here, but too far for Barrie. Like, I think if you're taking Barrie in like the 6th or 7th round, I think that's too early. But I do understand D are thin. Like, if you're going really forward heavy and Barrie's available, then go for him. But just be cautious. It's hard to say that a player will regain his confidence from 2 years ago after what happened last year in Toronto. So yeah, I think 8 or 9 is fine. I just be cautious with Barrie. Like I know a lot of people are taking him like 5th or 6th round up from what I've been reading. I just think that's too early. And Clefbaum was on the top power play unit with him last year, and you can see I'll pull up Clefbaum's stats. He would have been a sleeper this year, but he was on the top power play unit, and he was, almost half a point per game. So they really like to move the puck with Draisaitl and McDavid, and that's nowhere near the top of the where Barrie's going to be positioned. So just be cautious with Barrie. Taking McDavid. Yeah, like if you take McDavid, you don't even need another Oiler, but I do think Nugent Hopkins is definitely a good pick. Like, you can take McDavid as your first pick. Your second round, so your second pick will be back-to-backs. So I would look at taking like Roman Josi if he's available, and then another forward. And then with your 4th round pick, take Nuge, because then you'll have that guaranteed correlation on the power play, at least if he stays with McDavid. And their power play scored, I think it was like 35% of the time last season. So I think you can take Nuge in your 4th pick to have the correlation with McDavid, and then even reach for Barrie in the 8th round, 9th round. To answer your question, Chad. Yeah, Kevin Hayes is fine. I'll go back to the Flyers here because I've been raving about them. So someone you want to look at, Megalodon. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm just gonna call you Megalodon because that's a shark. Nolan Patrick for the Flyers. Keep an eye out for him. 2nd overall pick. I was told he was really sick in training camp from a player that's on the team right now. He could be phenomenal this year. I would probably take Patrick over Hayes, to be honest, if it's that late in the draft. It depends, Chad. I guess it depends on what your team looks like. Like, if you don't need bench D, I wouldn't even bother. Like, if your D is solid and you have a good D on the bench, but if it's late in the draft, take Bear, because you can see how effective McDavid is on the rush. All Bear has to do is just literally drop the puck through his legs, and McDavid will go end to end and score. So, and yeah, again, like Dovid has to say, no one's taking him in the draft. So, yeah, Bear's not a bad option. He should get first pairing. He should play about 25 minutes a night. I guess that's a little bit of a high ball. We'll say 23 minutes a night. And, I mean, Barrie is just there for the power play. So Bear can easily just pass McDavid the puck and go down and score. So, yeah, Bears should be pretty good this year, I'm thinking. Is there any teams you guys specifically want me to go through, or any players you want me to talk about? Because, feel free to ask. Pick up or draft? Skipper? Yeah, I ran through Vancouver. I can go back to Vancouver for sure, though. I think Gibson will give you shots. Their division is pretty poor. Their division's good. Like, again, I wouldn't play him against... Yeah, I wouldn't play him against Colorado, St. Louis, and Vegas. I think that those are the 3 big teams in that division. But against teams like the Coyotes, LA, he's fine to start because he'll give you a bunch of saves and potentially wins in those games. But worth trading. You talk about the Canucks? Yeah, okay. I'll run through the Canucks. So, Chad, the biggest thing I said about the Canucks is that Brock Besser is going to be good this year. First line power play. And then Nils Höglander. So he's supposed to play on the second line. He's currently playing the Swedish league, so he's getting some time. on the ice and is competing on the ice right now. So he's someone you can definitely take a look at for the Canucks. And then obviously, I guess I forgot about, but I think Braden Holtby's a bust this year. If you've watched my must avoid video, Holtby's been regressing. The Canucks aren't very good defensively, and I think his spot's going to be very limited, and you're going to see Demko step up to be the top goalie on that team this year. And that's the reason why they traded Markstrom away, is because they know Demko is going to be their guy. Worth trading for Seguin anyway, given the shortened season. You know what? I think it's hard to answer that question because I don't know how people are valuing Seguin this year. Because non-injured Seguin, I think he's a top 3 round pick for sure. He was actually one of our highest projected players this year because of his shot totals. But I think it all depends on what they want for Seguin. If you're giving up a player you took in like the 12th to 15th round for him, that's solid because he's going to come back in April and he should be effective. I mean, if you're taking a guy that should go in the 3rd round healthy in the 15th round, that's tons of value there. Oh, did the stream crash? Okay, never mind. How much do you think the schedule affects players' points this season? I don't think it affects players' points too much. I think the biggest thing to look out, the thing that I've been talking about a lot in my videos is I don't know how players that have had injury problems in the past, how it'll affect them this season. So my examples are Anthony Mantha, someone that's been injured that has crazy upside this year. I don't know if the shortened season is going to benefit him because, I mean, I guess there's less opportunity for him to get hurt. And then the other guy, sorry, I'm just reading the chat while I'm talking. I'm pretty bad for doing that. I think the other guy that has injury problems in the past that you should look out for is Evgeny Malkin. He's a top 15 player healthy. I don't know if he's going to be healthy the whole season because the season's a little bit shortened. And I think Elite Ninja, the biggest thing I want to touch on for the shortened season that everyone should keep an eye out for is the back-to-back games and how that affects your goaltenders. So this is going to be the year of streaming. And what I mean by streaming is picking up a goaltender for one start because it's a good matchup. So goalies are going to have tons of back-to-backs this year. So you're going to see, Toronto play against Montreal one night, and then the next night they go and play Ottawa. So that means in Ottawa, Jack Campbell's going to start, and then in Montreal, Freddie Anderson's going to start. So if you're seeing goalies in your waiver wire that have really good matchups that are starting, like Pavel Francouz on Colorado, and they play against like a team like LA, just pick them up for a night, start them, drop them, keep that space on your bench, and keep your eye out for goalies that are having favorable starts. So that's what I think the big theme this year is going to be because of the shortened season. No, I don't think Landeskog's a guy you should avoid. I think Landeskog's someone, 3rd, 4th round. If you're taking McKinnon in the 1st round, it doesn't hurt to take Landeskog. Opinion on Domi. A lot of people think that Montreal got shafted in that trade, but I disagree. I think Anderson's good. But I think Domi is going to be pretty good. He had 70 points with Montreal, but that's a big outlier season for him. I'll even bring his stats up here. Yeah, his 72-point season was definitely an outlier season, and you can see that, right? 52, 38, 45, 72, 44. 1st round pick. He's still young. He's fast. He's going to be good. But I think people are overvaluing him a little bit this year. I don't know if Atkinson still has that elite goal upside that we saw a few years ago with Panarin, but I think he's solid. He's going to see minutes. He's going to see time on the power play. They have solid D that move the puck. So, I mean, he's not a bad pick. But the biggest thing for Columbus is Oliver Bjorkstrand. I think Bjorkstrand is going to be sick this year. They just signed him 5 years, 27 mil. He broke out last season. He had very high shot total. I want to actually pull up a hockey reference here to show you guys. This is the stuff that I do that goes into my videos. This is what I'm researching. So if you look at Bjorkstrand last season, 49 games played, 21 goals. So 35 goal pace, 60 point pace, in a full season. Look at this minute jump. 12 minutes to 17:56. Crazy. He saw time on the power play. His shot attempts. He had more shot attempts last season in, 2/3 of the games than he did the season prior. So I think that's the biggest thing to look out for Columbus this season. Yeah, Liam Foudy. One of my best friends from home is actually really, really close with Liam Foudy. He was really good in playoffs last year. I haven't looked too much into Foudy this year, actually. It's interesting you say that. Are you a Columbus fan, Bling? I want to look at his playoff stats, how many minutes he was playing. So if you can see Foudy playing 17 minutes a night, he definitely has value. Definitely has value. Shabbat third. What do you think, Curl? You know what? For Kaprizov, it's the same situation that we saw Gusev have last year. I think with Gusev, everyone was super high on him and thought he was going to be this huge sleeper, and he wasn't that good. It's kind of hard coming over to, reading the chat again. It's kind of hard coming over from the KHL to the NHL. There's a language barrier. The hockey here is a bit different. I think in the KHL, it's a lot more offensive than it is in the NHL. So they kind of have to adjust their game. They have to get used to speaking the language and everything. So for Kaprizov, I think a lot of people are taking him. A lot of people are looking at him, in the 8th, 9th round. But just be careful. It's a risky pick. Oops. Shabbat, a third D man. Yeah, pick 94 is solid for Shabbat. Shabbat plays 30 minutes a night. He's good value. He'll have tons of production this year. Can you change points for goals, assists, hits, and so on the website point projections to match my own league points? King, I can look into doing that for you. That's definitely a beneficial feature for you guys too. So I'll look into changing that. I'm going to write it down right now, actually. Give me a sec, guys. All right. What do you think about Hall playing with Eichel? So I gave my take on him today when I was in a Discord call with one of the guys we work with here. So I think for Hall, it's kind of hard because people think that because of his fast speed and Eichel's fast speed that they're going to mesh really well. But Hall plays like Eichel, and I don't know if that's a good thing. They're both explosive players that benefit from shooting a lot. So I don't know if Eichel's going to take away from Hall's opportunity of, being that elite sniper that he was. And I don't know if Hall's going to take away from Eichel being the elite sniper. So I don't know if they mesh as good as what people think, but Eichel finally has some help. So we'll see how that pans out. Nick, I want to look into that. Gusev, I didn't know Gusev was that good the second half. Oh, wow. He was actually a lot better than I thought. 16 points in 21 games. Saw an uptick in minutes. I saw he was playing first line this year, I think, too. That's interesting. I haven't looked into that at all. Yeah. Nick, where's he going in drafts? Have you looked at all? Will Zach Parise be a good guy to pick off waivers? Yeah, Parise's fine. He's old, but first line, plays minutes, plays on the power play. Late, yeah. Man, I actually think that's like, oh wow. That's good value then. I didn't know he was that good last year, to be honest. I know when he started, you can see here his average time on ice was 14 minutes. I'm not sure if it's that clear for you guys here, but 14 minutes was that's what was scaring me. It's hard to own someone that's only playing 14 minutes a night. I'd rather just take someone that's playing 18. Will Praise. Someone dropped Hronek. What's your D looking like, James? Give me a rundown on what your D are with your team right now. Yeah, Samsonov's going to be good this year. We'll hop over to the Caps. The Caps are a solid team. They're deep. Their D aren't very good, but I think Samsonov was a first-round pick in that really, really deep 2015 draft. And hopefully he makes a case for adding to that depth in that draft. But I think Samsonov's going to be good this year. The Caps are a lot better defensively than I thought. So if you guys want to see here, this would just be quick. Take a look at how good this draft was. Take a look at how good this draft was. McDavid, Eichel, Strome, Marner, Hanifin, Provorov, Werenski, Meyer, Rantanen. Like, these are all players that you're considering in your drafts right now. Barzal, Connor, Shabbat, Svechnikov, Samsonov, Besser, Konechny. Crazy. This draft is, look at, like, second round, Aho, Blackwood. Even Jordan Greenway, Hintz. This draft's crazy. Shabbat, I forgot about. And then Boston took Senyshyn and Zaboral. Look at what Boston could have got. Barzal, Connor, Shabbat, Besser, Konechny. All right. Sorry to get off topic there a little bit. Top 5 Calder guys. That's a tough question. I haven't looked too much into rookies this season. But I think Stützle's definitely there for Calder. That John Leonard guy I was talking about could be a sleeper for the Calder Trophy. I swear he'll be better than people think. I think Shesterkin is also a rookie this season. I think Dylan Cousins could see time with Buffalo and could be pretty effective. I'm not sure if Ville Heinola is going to play with Winnipeg as a rookie, but I think he won defense at the tournament in the World Juniors, so he should be pretty good. And then obviously Lafreniere is the big one. Yeah, Burakovsky's solid. He's playing with McKinnon and Rantanen. Oh, I forgot about Romanov. So this is the biggest thing with Romanov this year. And I'm going to show you why. Third pairing. I can't see them. They just traded and signed Edmondson. They just re-signed Petrie. The Weber-Sherratt duo's not going to leave. But yeah, if he does see PP time. Yeah, but you know, as a Canadiens fan, that power play is struggling. They struggle a lot on the power play. A lot. Yeah, Zegras. I'm not sure about Rossi. I don't know. I'm not a Rossi fan. Zegras is, I forgot about him. Should have some opportunity to play this season. Yeah, I think Giroux will always have value. It's just his value is going down pretty fast. But he's playing with Hayes and Farabee. He still has value. Yeah, Bling, I think Montreal is going to be a lot better than people think. Huge, Kevin. He's going to be he's like a top 10 D. The next 10 years, he's like top 5 D. D'Angelo, Rielly, Ellis, and Barry. And do you start all those players starting in your lineup, or how many do you start? Number 1 top sleeper. You guys are going to hate me for this. So, can I give you 3? Actually, do you want me to give you 1 forward, 1 D, and 1 goalie? So I'm going to say number 1 sleeper. Haven't even talked about him yet. Number 1 sleeper. Right here. Dylan Larkin. I took him 10th round in my draft. So this is why. You can even see all the research I've done in Larkin. So Larkin put up 53 points last year. They had 17 wins, and he was still good. He shoots a ton. There's so much good about Larkin. So he plays 21 minutes a night, plays top power play, plays on the top line. He has insane shot volume. His shot volume is super high. He's up there with the top players in the league. He had a 73-point season that people forget about. So, Shipper, he's going 10th round in some drafts, is what I'm seeing. I'll show you where we have him. This is where we have him. 30. Because you take out the first line, he's ranked 30. He's going 100th overall. So he's probably my favorite sleeper this year. I would say number 2, Kevin Fiala. If you're drafting on ESPN, Fiala's ranked 582. If you guys aren't familiar with why he's ranked there, after the top 300, it goes in alphabetical order. So he's kind of like a residual, like why he's there. So I think Fiala's going to be sick this year. He was super good at the end of last year. He was super good in playoffs. Here, I'll show you guys. I'm not hiding anything. So post All-Star game numbers for Fiala. 19 games, 14 goals, 12 assists, 26 points, 7 power play goals. In 45 games, he took 96 shots. After that, in the 19 games, he took 80 shots. His time on ice went up by 3 minutes, and he was sick. I wish I could show you guys. I could show you guys some YouTube clips, but I think I'll stick to this for now. You think Rielly has more or less value, since Keith said he might go 3D 5-on-5? I think Rielly has. I don't know. They won't do that. I can't see them going 3D, but Rielly has a ton of value this year. He was going to be my next pick for biggest sleeper this year for in terms of ADP at least. I think on ESPN his ADP is like something in the hundreds or 130, and I'll show you. So did I spell it right? I always spell his name wrong. I'm so bad for that. So Rielly put up 72 points in 2018. He's been super healthy. 73 games is the least he's played. I mean, we'll just ignore last season because it's super hard to tell. But he had 72 points, 20 goals. And then Barry came in. Babcock was being a psychopath. Who knows what was happening there. I think Rielly's going to get a ton of opportunity. The same opportunity he saw in 2018. He's going to put up a ton of points this year. They're going to be probably one of the highest scoring teams in the league. He's going to play on the top power play unit. The puck runs through Rielly all the time. The puck goes to Rielly, to Matthews on the right side for the shot, to Marner for backdoor. He should be solid this year. Yeah. Theodore was actually one of my biggest sleepers this year. If like pre-Pietrangelo, I would say Theodore was probably one of my favorite sleepers this year. He was so good. You know what? I haven't looked into it too much, but I want to see his second half stats. His playoff stats were just absurd. 19 points in 20 games in playoffs. So the second half, 15 points in 19 games, 23 minutes time on ice. Definitely a Norris candidate. I wouldn't say Theodore's top 5 points at all this year, to be honest, for D. I think there's a lot more above him. Fiala over Keller by a long shot. It's not really that close, actually. Yeah, I ran through Kaprizov already. I think, James, the biggest thing you have to keep in mind is that it's risky because he hasn't proven anything in this league yet. And I ran through how Gusev struggled a bit to start off, but I think he definitely has upside. He's playing the first line. He's playing first power play. It's a risky pick. So don't try and force him on your team. Keller sucks. That's a little harsh. He's not as good as I thought he would be. Yeah, that's fine. Tays should be playing first line minutes. I think he'll be solid this year, giving the puck to McKinnon, Rantanen. Thoughts on Dadonov? I snagged him. I think Dadonov's fine. I'm just very curious to see how he pans out without Barkov and Huberdeau. That's the biggest thing. I don't know if he's an average NHL player, and we'll see this year. Brian Rust. I love Rust this year. I think I saw him in my projections here somewhere. Yeah, 35. And I was showing you guys the advanced stats as well. I'll show you this. When life goes by. So, I mean, he was playing with Malkin and Gensel. And I know it's going to be different this year, but like, look how good they were last year. He's going to be solid. Any thoughts on Marchessault? So, after like analyzing more players this year, I realized that Marchessault is a huge shot player. Like, he shoots a ton. 268, 278, and 235. So Marchessault's solid. He has a very high floor just because of his shot value. I just wish that his time on ice was higher. Like, I just wish Vegas played their first two lines 20 minutes a night. That's my only wish. Yeah, Zucker's solid. Zucker was really good with Minnesota too.
Can I come down?
No. Zucker had 33 goals with Minnesota in 2017. So, yeah, Zucker's solid. He's playing with Malkin this year, playing with Rust. You can probably even get Malkin, Rust, and Zucker all on your team for the full line correlation. Yeah, I think, can I flex a defender in ESPN or is it suboptimal? Yeah, you can definitely flex a defender. I mean, the only worry is that D are put up less points than forwards, but if you have a solid D on your bench that you think has a good matchup over your forwards, you can definitely flex a D. Offload Yandel with Hoffman for Teravainen. I think, yeah, like, I mean, Teravainen plays with Aho. He plays power play. Hoffman's a question mark this year, but I do like Hoffman's upside. Like, I think I also have him ranked really high. Or do I not even have him on here? Yeah, like, I have Hoffman pretty high because his shot volume is so absurd. Hey man, really enjoyed your content. Kudos. Oh, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Love the kind words. You guys are what keep me going. You guys keep me motivated to keep doing this stuff and producing content for you guys. It means a lot. What do you think about the Jets and Line A? Oof, the Jets are going to be in their own end a lot this season. Look at this decor. Pionk's good. Morrissey's okay, but I don't know. They're going to be in their own end a lot. Line A needs to stop playing Fortnite so much. But, I mean, Stasny's a competent second-line center now, so it should be a bit better. But just be careful with him. He is risky. He's getting drafted a little bit earlier than most people. Chad, you trying to find out where I live? No, I'm from Ontario. You can probably tell by the accent a little bit. Pretty heated league. Awesome. I'm happy to hear. Thanks, guys. Thoughts on Hall? Yeah, Hall's fine. Just don't reach for him too early. I think something I really want to find out if it's an optimal strategy this year is if pairing your players is relevant and if it benefits you. So I think if you're taking Eichel, which should be a top 10 pick this year, try and look to take Hall in the second or third round. Because if Eichel pops off this season, which we're all hoping he does, I do think that Hall also will. So that's something you can definitely look for in your draft. And for Jagmeet, I know you're drafting tonight. Try and look at correlations that you can pair with. Like if you're taking Malkin in the second round, look to take Rust in the fourth round. Because if Malkin's good this year, so will Rust. Duchesne bounce back year? I don't know about that. Oh, where is he? Nashville, eh? Man, I don't know how they're going to be this year. I couldn't tell you. I'm from Edmonton. Nice. I would like to go out west one day. Definitely like BC. BC's sick. Yeah, you're from BC, Chad? Yeah, I would love to go out there one day. You think Boquist takes over PP1 this year? I could see that. Nick, you have some pretty good takes, man. You're actually like giving me some information as much as I'm giving you information. I love that. I got Hall in the 5th, so great value. What? Invite me into your league if you're getting Hall in the 5th round. Does it benefit you to pair goalies from the same team? It does, Famous. It depends on what team. I ran through this a little bit earlier. I think goalies are going to be splitting time a bunch this season. So the great example is Vegas. They're going to be winning a lot of games. Their division's weak. It makes sense to take Fleury and Leonard. But I do think you should have another starting goalie if you're going to take two from the same team, just to ensure that you have more starts. And yeah, Grubauer and Francouz is another great example. Sorry guys. Have a look at it. Does it benefit you to pair goalies? You got Aho, Eichel, and Dubois. Their weakness? I don't think there is a weakness there. That's awesome. Who else did you get, Kevin? Oh, yeah. Oh, you got Eichel too? Come on. I mean, you got Hall too? Come on. I got to know who your defense are, though, before I get too excited. Yeah, Grubauer, Francouz. Demko and Hart. Yeah, that's awesome. You're picking for probably the highest upside you can possibly pick for. I think Vancouver's going to be good this season. Yeah, I can't believe he dropped to the 5th round. Like, I think the big thing with Hall, and a lot of people like forget about, is his shot volume is elite, like very high. So I think we actually dropped Hall in our projections a little bit, but no, we didn't actually. Look where we have Hall. 17 or 16 technically, but there are outliers. So this isn't the best projection system in the world. It's just something we worked on. Like we have Bergeron 10. So I mean, obviously you're not taking Bergeron top 10. Dubois and Bjorkstrand are solid picks. That's a great correlation. Grubauer, Francouz, Mrazek. I love that. That's a solid 3. Mrazek should be good this year, actually. With, I think Carolina's going to do pretty well. I know I've already mentioned it once, guys, but if you're enjoying the stream, feel free to leave a like. Helps me out, helps me produce content, helps me, keeps me going every day. So feel free to drop a like. It should take a couple seconds. Appreciate it a lot, guys. All the positivity in here is awesome to see. I love to see some big hockey fans. I really want everyone to succeed this year. My draft is Monday. I'm going to go Bob, Koskinen, and Talbot. Really? You got to explain to me why. I think Bobrovsky's going to be atrocious this season. I don't like Koskinen. I don't like any of those goalies, to be honest, Michael. I'm curious to see why you like them. I wouldn't take player goalies from the same team. Look at Dallas. They're rescheduling 3 games. Okay. Interesting take, Nick. Nick, I think something we're going to focus on too going into the season for our channel is to post. I'm going to be posting almost every day or every couple days about who you should start and who you should be picking up for the year or for the week. Sorry. Yeah, I've been pooling for like 10 years. I think I got my best team yet this year. I'd love to hear that. That's awesome. Fantasy hockey is so fun. So fun to do. Columbus has had our time. Yeah, if you're getting Bjorkstrand around 15, 16, that's a joke. That's solid value there, Josh. I would definitely take that. Thoughts on Dahlin? I think the Sabres power play is going to be good this year. They finally have some skill. Dahlin's going to be sick this year. See, people, they don't shit on, sorry for swearing, they don't shit on Dahlin, but I think because he went first overall, that expectation of him being that like point per game defenseman has always been there for him. But people have to remember that he was 18 and 19 his first 2 years, right? It's so hard for an 18-year-old to come into the league. You're undersized. I mean, he's 6'3", 186. Like, imagine he was 6'3", 200. He still put up 44 points his first year as an 18-year-old. And Buffalo was terrible. And he was 19 last year. He was on pace for 55 points, I think. He's been putting up a ton of power play points. I think Dahlin's definitely a must-own this year. Nick, we have a website. Check out the description. It's currently in construction. We have a couple of my friends or my colleagues are writing articles as well. So feel free to take a look there and have some discussion on the articles. We have a draft discussion board as well that we're currently trying to get a little bit better for you guys to be able to comment and post your picks, any questions you have, and we're there to answer it all for you. Sorry, guys. Don't want to miss anything. Talbot has value based on how often he'll start. Thoughts on Dahlin? Yep. Happy with just by team. Not too sure about Huberdeau. No, I think Huberdeau's solid. Huberdeau's like a top 5 left winger. Vrana? Yeah, Vrana's solid. Vrana will give you, this year in the 56 games, he'll give you 45 points. He was a first-round pick. His line was very strong last year. I just wish he saw some more power play time, but I actually went to a Washington Capitals game this year in Washington, and he was one of the best players I saw live. Like, he was sick. My team so far, I picked last in a 14-player league. Eichel, yeah, like, I don't know how Eichel fell that late. 14th pick. Kevin, your team, you're going to win this year. There's no way you lose, unless you stop carrying. Huberdeau's great every year. Yep. Yeah, Dahlin fell in my draft. Picked up Hedman, Theodore, then Dahlin and Rielly. You guys have the best teams ever. That's so good. I need more wingers, more D, and another goalie. Who's available? Gallagher, any good this year? Oh, yeah. Gallagher's good. Gallagher has one of the highest shot totals in the league. His expected goals for is also really high. So I showed you guys these stats earlier in the stream, but 385 expected goals for per 60. The Gallagher line. Keep him on your team. He shoots a bunch. High goal scorer. He'll give you goals. Thoughts on Binnington and Price? Yeah, Binnington's a good goalie. Their division's weak. He should get a lot of wins. I think Price is going to be better than people think. He has dealt with a lot of injuries in the past, and my assumption to that is just work overload. Like, he's just playing too much. And now they have Jake Allen as the backup, so he should take some time off of Price, and he'll be good. He's still an elite goalie. I still think he's the starting goalie for Team Canada at the Olympics. I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. Kevin over Grizzly. Who's Kevin? Kevin Hayes. Last year, Killorn was a sleeper for me. Debating pick him up. I mean, I think Killorn is on the first power play, so yeah, he definitely has value if he's on the power play. Who's Kevin? Oh, nice. I got you. I love Grizzly this year. Thoughts on Lindholm and Nylander? Sorry, let me go back to the Killorn. Yeah, he's power play 1, so he still has value. Yeah, Grizzly's solid. Thoughts on Lindholm and Nylander? So, I mean, Lindholm, I think Calgary as a whole needs to have a big rebound season this year because they were bad last year. Like, everyone on their team underperformed except for, like, Matt Tkachuk, Mangiapane, and Backlund. But I think Lindholm has value. He's power play. And then Nylander has tons of value. People still underestimate how good he is, but he's a solid top 6 forward. Plays in the top power play unit. Toronto's going to score a ton this year, so they're both good. Also, Kevin, another player is, I don't think I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it's Mangiapane on Calgary. Third line, but I was told earlier in the stream that he is playing the second line some nights too, so. Crosby and Malkin. I feel like you got to take one or the other because they just benefit when the other one gets hurt. Hart will be paired with Price. I agree with that. That's a great take. Hart, Price, Binnington. Is that what we're gonna see for Team Canada Olympics? Oh, what's up, Steve? I was waiting for you. I'm probably gonna end the stream in a little bit, but I'll definitely answer some of your questions. Yeah, Ekholm plays a lot of minutes too. Yeah, Crosby's always gonna have a value. Like, he's solid. He's still an elite player in the league. Yeah, thanks for joining the stream. I appreciate it. Love the discussions tonight. It was awesome. Malkin or Gensel? Malkin. Definitely Malkin. Probably going to wrap this up soon, guys. I'll stay in here for a couple more questions. Gensel. For sure. Wheeler's like 36 now. You got Pasta in the 3rd round, Steve? Come on. Who else did you get? Why Malkin? I just think Malkin has more upside than Gensel. Like, I know Gensel's playing with Crosby, but Malkin's still like a top 15 player in our league. So I can show you guys my projections. I have Malkin as the 13th player, and I have Gensel here at 25. I don't think you can go wrong with either, but I just think Malkin has more potential to put up points. Oh, really? Yeah, you got Pasternak in the 3rd round? Come on. Bjorkstrand over Nylander. It's hard to say. Like, I feel like the point in your draft, I don't think both of them will be on the board. Like, I feel like Nylander will be gone in the 7th round. I would probably say Nylander over Bjorkstrand. But Bjorkstrand's a sleeper. Like, he's someone you can take after Nylander. But Bjorkstrand's really good. You can't go wrong with either. I just like how Nylander plays with Tavares, and I also like that he plays on that top power play. But that's a really good question. It's close. Like, I think if you take one over the other, you're not going to be missing out on too much. Like, you're not going to kick yourself after and be like, oh, why didn't I take the other guy? Great stuff. Thanks for the information conversation. Yeah, see you, Michael. Appreciate everything, man. You're awesome tonight. Matthews, Laine, Pasta, Giroux, Duclair, Fiala. Yeah, that's just filthy. Just stop it, Steve. You're just making me feel bad about my drafts. For Ian Cole, I don't think you should do that, Steve. I think Ian Cole's going to get beat out by Bowen Byram this year, actually. If you're looking at a D with blocks, I think Connor Murphy is a solid player for blocks on Chicago. 138 blocks last year in 58 games. If blocks is something that you are categorizing, or that's helping you make that decision, like, look at Connor Murphy. Fair enough. Yeah, I've definitely had some controversy about my Malkin takes, but I think Malkin's still a good player. I'd like to hear your point of view on some players. Keep up the good work. Thanks, Bling. You brought some awesome points and an awesome discussion to the chat tonight. For sure. My league was weird, dude. Everyone went off the ranks and took weird sleepers. And yeah, that's awesome. Who are your goalies, Steve? Or who did you get for D as well? I'm happy you ended up coming to the stream, Steve. I told you like 3 p.m., but we had some complications today. But I definitely wanted to hear your draft. Sure, no worries. Yeah, Barry's good. So my take on Barry earlier was don't stretch too much for him, just because I don't know how much his confidence got ruined last year playing in Toronto. And I know everyone thinks he's going to go back to what he was like on Colorado, but just be careful. because you don't know how he's going to be, and people are taking him in like the 7th, 8th round. So Puljujärvi is a sleeper, but as of now, he might be a watch list player. I don't know. He could be a stash on the bench. I don't know how it's going to be with him this year. He was one of my top sleepers this year, but just be careful with him. I got stoned for a 6th round. That's solid value. Dahlin, McAvoy, Barry, Gerard, Myers is good for blocks. Yeah, Steve. That's solid, man. Like I feel like you don't have like a top D like a Hedman, Carlson, Dougie, Yossi, but Dahlin can take a huge step this year. I'm not too high on McAvoy, to be honest. I think he's overrated, but it's fine. Yeah, the D looks solid. You got Barry. I like Rasmus Anderson. What's happening with the Stars? I don't know, man, but I hope hope that doesn't spread across the league. I'm just worried about that. But I think their games are pushed back to the 19th of January. So be careful with Gurionov and Hintz or whoever you guys drafted. Any last questions, guys? I'm probably going to wrap this up. Been streaming for 96 minutes right now. Awesome. Let me know who you take. I'm curious to hear. Yeah, Barry's definitely a sleeper. Yeah, Provorov's good. He plays so many minutes. I couldn't believe it when I looked into him, how many minutes he played, man. It was unbelievable. $25 minutes a game last season. Like, it's crazy. He led the league in power play goals, too, for D. Yeah, he scores. He has good upside. Is Kessel a good pick? I don't know how Philly cheese is anymore. Let me see. One sec. Where are they? I don't know. I mean, he's definitely not the Kessel he used to be, but he still shoots a lot. He's getting old. The game's getting faster. I don't know. I think I would avoid Kessel. There's probably better players. Dougie, Dahlin, Werenski, Yandel, Nurse. That's good. Awesome, Skipper. I'm happy to hear. So I think for Yandel, just be careful because I read he's not. I was told in this stream I figured out today that he's not on the top power play unit. So just be careful with that because all of his value does come on the power play. So I think Yandel's definitely expendable in that decor. Krug's gonna be great this year. People don't know how good St. Louis's power play actually is, and they had the 4th most goals last year. So he's just going to provide even more value to the already sick power play. All right, guys. So I'm going to wrap it up here. That was an awesome stream. I appreciate everyone for tuning in today. If you didn't leave a like, I would really appreciate it. But for future videos, I'll be posting almost daily again, be posting throughout the season and everything. I appreciate everyone that came in today and contributed to the discussion in the chat and asked me questions, and especially to the people that were answering other people's questions. It was awesome. You guys were super awesome today. So, all right, I'll answer this last question. Ooh. Well, I guess it depends on your needs. If you need a D, Grizzlick. If not, I would probably take Gurionov. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for everything. You guys are awesome. Look forward to seeing you guys soon. I'll have another stream.